So Andra ahomache ye nyina ya da no abusua bibibi esiye ewo Accra International Airport NPP criminal appointees nkofo wi na national securities NBNI for no match say omonda abusua Deputy Attorney General Edith ensem bi aba betu dwa na ensem o de betu dwa no eye former Buffer Stock CEO abusua yakwa re-arrest no ya arrest no ewo airport a chese or try say ni frozen account ni sika chese abinde omonsa atoso no abusua or try say o yi say sika ni nyina ade akwa kogu accounts from abusua nanka owia na pepa otilo na wa vanish abusua inti Enra airport hona enomo yeden omo arrest no se echese accounta aban eden nsa atoso wo wonsem ewo court o cases charges ayede abobobo no ewo court na sa court cases no echese wo ebu court mraso our account no wo no o pushi anase o transfer o sika nyina ade afim nti adwen be na beba otrim say yeden yesade na abusua ensem no ene ya project ede ato ye screen no enchen ede amam we dey straight from Deputy Attorney General or say law enforcement officers have a while ago arrested Mr. Addo Hanan at the Accra International Airport. Mr. Aludiba, who is currently standing trial for stealing and causing financial loss to the Republic, was granted leave by the trial high court to travel to the UK for a few days. It was, however, Mr. Hanan attempt to use false means to empty his frozen bank account with Republic Bank on Thursday, which occasioned tonight arrested. The learned Attorney General will on Monday seek a review of the court order which granted Mr. Hanan leave to travel out of the country. Abusuya, intinka ofa ekwen biaso. Abai ene man sa permit no senka onkonkwaje na home be 4 days bi. And I said the person okoye no onkonkwaye mbra 4 days oba no aba beto aso. Na che se adwen bone kenoforiata movement. Abusuya we ne ensema course but Addo hin the trial there is some controversies be a course our political highway so Paul Adomotre e de honsem bebre aba betudwa che se nyoma bi a course our cabinet Addo in a court case in one aye bibi o mama yanko na yenkonkoti ensema course na ansa na be kono Ghana ha say open computer papa and a laptop papa Bura periodic computers and accessories and a obenya laptop papa na we using the location na nya yira kwan o Kumasi Chrome Estate a pick number na egu ye screen as 0247030108 and as 0597942133 yembonra yensem ne ba yede dia kabeto amoso
Attorney Generals. Now, this is the story. According to the Attorney General Dominic Ayeni, Addo and his co-accused orchestrated a scheme to misappropriate approximately 49.1 million of public funds through a criminal network of companies and bank accounts. The prosecution contends that money earmarked for the procurement of a cyber defense system was instead diverted for personal and private use. However, during cross-examination by defense counsel, a number of admissions emerged from the prosecution's own witnesses that challenge allegations made publicly by the Attorney General, as well as the prosecution's narrative in court. So what is being said is that what is the gravamen of the matter? The foundation of the case is that the Attorney General is alleging that Kwabena Addo and his people had blown 49.1 million of state money. And the money was earmarked for the purchase of a cyber security equipment, cyber system equipment, and the equipment was never bought. And the money has been lost. And therefore, there's a loss that has been occasioned to the National Signals Bureau, and that is why he's being prosecuted. This is the matter. During his press conferences, which were completely unnecessary and which has not caught the court's attention in any way. Nowhere in the court documents has any press conference been referred to. The Attorney General has not referred to his own press conference. It all means that the press conference was neither here nor there. It lacked quality, it lacked interest, and it lacked relevance. But Attorney General did the press conference anyway. In his press conferences, he was talking about how Edouboahin had spent the money. In fact, he told the press how he believes Edouboahin spends that 49 million. He talked about him having cars, all of which brought Shatawale into the matter. You remember they had to go and arrest Shatawale, and Shatawale later told the public in his own videos that they told him that he should say that the car is for Edouboahin, and he couldn't say that because it's not true. So he, Chatta, SM, he's a truthful man. Truth stands. Truth is one. He told them that I can't say something that's not true. I am very basa-basa. I'm sure that's what Chatta said. That is bad man. Me, I be basa-basa, but I don't go feel lie, So he couldn't say that the car is for Edouboahin. This was part of the narrative of the Attorney General when he talked about they said Edouboahin has houses and he has cars. And now they were fishing to find out the evidence so they can put it together. So they arrest a popular musician and tell him that your Lamborghini is for Kwabena Edouboahin, and the matter now spills over, it evaporates, and that side of the conversation is dead. But this is the story against Edouboahin. You have blown 49 million. Now let's get into the cross-examination. So how does the case start? The case starts with a jamboree arrest of Kwabena Edouboahin, as if after arresting Edouboahin, everything will change or something like that. Guy comes from a trip abroad. They arrest him. They keep him in for whatever time. The court is constituted at evening, 4 o'clock, so that he will be kept in. All of that happened. Forget about that. Now the trial has started. The trial starts with the Attorney General and his people presenting their prosecution witnesses to the court. And so far, they have presented about 4 or 5 prosecution witnesses. Viewers, keep in mind the gravamen of the case. Edouboahin, through a network, has stolen 49.1 million. On trial is also Edouboahin's wife, who is also on trial, that she's part of the syndicate of the stealing. Let's get to what has been happening in the court so far. Can I roll it over, please? Let's turn it out for me. All right. Now, this is a testimony by Ruth, Edith, Aduma, who is the head of finance of NSB. Please, let's read. Ruth testified that there was no public institution known as the Bureau of National Communications, BNC, as alleged by the Attorney General. In the Attorney General's presentation, viewers, he said that there was something called Bureau of National Communication, BNC, and that there were 2 BNCs. There was a public BNC and a private BNC. That Edouboahin siphoned money from the public BNC into a private BNC, which was created by him and his wife and his cohorts. That's what the Attorney General told the media. In the courtroom, the prosecution witness, which is Edith Aduma, who worked with Kwabena Edouboahin as the head of finance, and who was also harassed, but eventually was converted into a prosecution witness so that perhaps she can tell on her boss or something like that. She's the first one they brought. So she knows a lot about the whole transaction. She's head of finance. She knows everything. And this is what she said. She testified that there was no public institution known as Bureau of National Communication as alleged by the Attorney General. Before then, let me say that if you do an algorithm of what has happened in the court so far with the testimonies, you will find that there has been at least 61 contradictions of the Attorney General's statements in court. If you do an algorithm, things have become very modern, viewers. I mean, even law was not like this, but now law is like that. So they've put all the evidence together, and the algorithm is telling us that there have been at least 61 contradictions of what Dominic Ayine and Fř0zèn first told the world about this case. Once the case went into court, where there's no drama, it's not about camera, it's not media proficiency, it is about the facts and the truth. And there, 61 of the things Dominic Ayine said are proven to be contradictory. Let's move on though. So she testified that there was no public institution known as the Bureau of National Communications as alleged by the Attorney General. Number 2, she stated that the BNC was an internal department of the Office of National Security, National Security Coordinator, and not an autonomous agency like the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI, and the Research Department. So she said that the BNC, it works in the Office of the National Security Coordinator. There's no private one. It's one and it's with the National Security Coordinator. It's just a subset of it. It's not an institution by itself. The Attorney General said all of that. Okay, let's move on. Then she further testified that what the Attorney General held out to be the state's BNC account with the Fidelity Bank was rather a special operations account of the National Security Coordinator called the Coordinator's Account, National Security Coordinator. That's the National Security Coordinator, also christened Director BNC. So, viewers, are you with me? It's getting interesting. The prosecution witness told the court that, as it turns out, the Attorney General completely misunderstood what he noticed. Both the Attorney General and the investigative unit, I don't know whether it was the BNI or the NIB as it was, or it was the IOCO, whoever investigated, they had all gotten it wrong. But how did they get an investigation wrong when the person who is giving the right information is a prosecution witness? Didn't they speak to her so that she will educate them and say, oh, bosses, this is not how it is. So this one is like that. Didn't they go through that process so that they come and embarrass themselves in court? This was totally embarrassing. That your own prosecution witness under cross-examination is revealing things that contrary to what you told the general public. And that's what is happening in the court. Let's move on. She also said that contrary to the Attorney General's allegations that Dubois had the power to spend and authorize spending on the Fidelity Special Operations Account, Edith testified that it was the National Security Coordinator who wielded the power to spend and authorize spending on that account. Again, Dominic Ayeni said that Kwabena Dubois moved accounts. They saw the director BNC and they thought he created the fictitious account and siphoning government money into that account. That's what they believed, or that's what they were told. And then they said it. Now, the lady is telling the court that Dubois does not have control over that account. But mind you, she's the head of finance. She's speaking. She said Dubois doesn't have control over that account. That account is for the National Security Coordinator. All right, let's move on very quickly. The bedrock of the Attorney General's case is that Dubois moved monies from the Fidelity Bank accounts to the UMB Bank. But Edith Ruby Aduma clarified that Dubois did not wield the power to move any monies at all. And thus the check totaling 49.1 million were signed and authorized by the National Security Coordinator for payment into BNC operations account at the UMB. Again, Edith is giving more clarification. Let's move on for lack of time. Edith Aduma's testimony further contradicted the prosecution's case in terms of the purpose of the 49.1 million, citing that there was no point in the year 2020 when the said amount was the Ghana cedi equivalent of 7 million. You remember there was something like that where the Attorney General said that the 49 is the Ghana cedi equivalent of 7 million. Edith debunked that in the court. Edith Aduma contradicted the prosecution further by asserting that the acquisition of the cyber defense system was a genuine transaction in which she herself, as head of finance, was involved. Edith Aduma contradicted the prosecution further by asserting that the acquisition of the cyber defense system was a genuine transaction in which she herself, as head of finance, was involved. She confirmed that she personally processed invoices and payments for the cyber defense system. She maintained that the payment was made contingent on the delivery and acceptance of the cyber defense system. She testified that the cyber defense system was indeed purchased and delivered. That collapses the Attorney General's case. Because the Attorney General says money was given for the purchase of a cyber security. The cyber security didn't come. So recently before the court, distinguished counsel for Dubois, the learned Atachian, has asked the court that, can you order for us to walk into the National Security Signals Bureau and check whether the equipment is there or that is not there? I'm really hoping that the judge will agree with that because it will help all of us. The Attorney General says it wasn't there. The Attorney General's witness says that the item was delivered. I signed for it. I paid for it because I'm head of finance. Counsel for Defense says, my lord, if it wouldn't worry anybody, can we all go to the National Signals Bureau, your agent, the judge's agent, the Attorney General, who already has control over the Signals Bureau, and we, the Defense Council, you can add neutral people, the leadership of the Ghana Bar Association, and the leadership of the new one, Dafiamapo's own, what is it called? Association of Ghana Bar or something like that, Solicitor Ghana something, their thing, he and Javier Susu. You can bring all of them. Let's go to the National Signals Bureau and let us find out whether the equipment is there or not. It's an application before His Lordship. I sincerely believe that His Lordship will grant it. I hope so. Anyway, let's move on. Contrary to the Attorney General's allegations that some 49.1 million had been stolen or lost at the National Signals Bureau, Edith Ruby Aduma testified that there was no report or audit query whatsoever that any such amount had been stolen or gone missing at the National Signals Bureau. She denied ever transferring monies to buy houses for Eduboahen. She denied Eduboahen ever using operational funds for personal use. That's very interesting. And on that day, I was in court, and that was the most powerful one. Atacha is such a fantastic lawyer. I mean, all of us had not thought about it. You see, so the lawyers were talking about it in the court as I sat with them. It's very interesting. The first point that Dominica Ini should have made to the court is to establish that as National Signals Bureau, they are looking for a 49.1 million which is lost. That's the first thing you should have established, because that's really the case. You are prosecuting on behalf of the National Signals Bureau. There has to be a complaint from the National Signals Bureau or an audit from the National Signals Bureau by the Auditor General, like what goes into Abena's committee, Abena Osasare, that's very intelligent MP, Public Accounts Committee. So that the Attorney General can begin on the premise that the Auditor General has reported a 49.1 million inconsistency or loss with the National Signals Bureau, alleging that a cybersecurity equipment that can be the basis of the Attorney General's case. The Attorney General didn't do that at all. He was more interested in press conferences and addressing the media and telling the media that people are thieves and prosecuting a public opinion trial for political gain. That's what he was interested in. Now all that gain has collapsed because time is the master of all of us. So all that political gain that Attorney General thought he gained, it has collapsed on his head today. The other day, somebody was whispering to me that they said that Dominica Ini had some issue and he wanted to resign and they begged him not to resign. I said, oh, well, he's brought it upon himself. Because this is what is happening. Everything he said in the press conference has now collapsed on his head. Every pep, the military people call it peps, I think they were. Every pep that he won because of the press conference has been torn off his shoulders today. Because he held a press conference and said that there was no equipment and that the money had been stolen. And yet, when he appeared before the court, he did not ground his case on the fact that the National Signals Bureau itself is in possession of that information that their money has been stolen. So in court, Atacha asked the lady that, are you the head of... She said, yes. He said, if there will be money lost, would you know? She said, yes, I will know. She said, so far, has the National Signals Bureau lost any money? She said, no, we haven't lost any money. Then Atta turned to the judge and turned to the court. So what's the Attorney General looking for? The people at the Signals Bureau in the testimony before the High Court, sworn evidence, said that there's no money lost to the National Signals Bureau. But the Attorney General says that there's money lost. And this is the Attorney General's witness. And the witness is the head of finance. And if there's money lost, she would know. But she said that no money lost. Dominica Ini was not there, but Fř0zèn was very there. He was sitting there. He shaking his head, looking at his time. I was spying him. One day I'll do video of him and come and play it, you see. But I think that's unfair. That's why I've not done it. He was sitting right there. He heard it. Everybody in the court heard it. Everyone was shaking their head. And people wanted to clap for Atacha. It was such a great twist in the matter when Atta told the court that, my lord, you've heard her. There's no money lost. Anyway, so this is it. The contrary to Attorney General allegations, Edith testified that there was no report or audit query whatsoever that any such amount had been lost. Meanwhile, the National Signals Bureau has been audited. Every year, they get audited by the Auditor General. In fact, if they haven't been audited in 2025, they have been audited. So the Attorney General can pick up the 2025, which is the John Mahama administration, pick up the audit report of 2025, and come and tell us that the Auditor General in 2025, whilst he was auditing the National Signals Bureau, found out that 49 million is lost. That Dominica Ini and Fř0zèn have not been able to do any such thing. Yet they are in court prosecuting. So let's move on. Edith Aduma stated that no 49 million has gone missing at her department, contrary to the claims by the Attorney General. She further stated that no query had been raised against Edith Boahen internally in the national security. Now, we are going to another testimony. So, Edith Boahen, until the prosecution, in fact, even up till now, is still an employee of the National Signals Bureau. Yes, he is. I think now they've asked him to take a long leave or something like that. But by the time they began the prosecution, Edith Boahen was still a staff and the director of the BNC. He was still there. And the Edith, in her testimony in attached cross-examination concluding questions, was asked whether there's been any inquiry in the office about Kwabena's, the accused person's conduct, and the answer was in the negative. Nothing. Let's look at Mildred Donkor. After her conversion from accused person to prosecution witness, Mildred Donkor testified that her assistance to Edith Boahen and his wife was part of her professional duties as a banker, rather than criminal actions as originally alleged by the Attorney General when she was the third accused person. She used to be third accused, now she's on the prosecution side. She, Mildred Donkor, maintained that she acted lawfully in carrying out those banking duties. She confirmed that the authorized withdrawals would ordinarily appear in court in official bank statements, debunking claims by the Attorney General that the withdrawals were concealed. She confirmed that the transfers were reflected in official banking records and not underhand dealings. She testified that the Advantage Solutions, that's a company, the Advantage Solutions was incorporated in 2008 and not a recent undertaking to steal money. She confirmed that Advantage Solutions was an existing company before she joined it. She testified that Advantage Solutions funded national security special operations as far back as 2018. Contrary to the Attorney General's allegations that the accounts of Advantage Solutions were used as conduits to steal money, Mildred testified that the Advantage Solutions rather loaned monies to the national security to pre-finance special operations. She confirmed that the payments to the ICS Holdings Limited for the procurement of a cyber defense system was a genuine transaction backed by a SWIFT record. SWIFT is a banking term for foreign money and all of that. She testified that the 16 million fixed deposit was done on the BNC operations and not in Edith Boahen's personal name, as alleged erroneously by the Attorney General. She testified that she had been coached. She testified that she had been coached during IOCO processes and that her witness statement was prepared after reviewing the charge sheets with her lawyer. Well, there was a conversation here about at which point her charge sheet was reviewed. And Atacha came to the conclusion that she may have been coached. We don't know yet whether the court will draw that conclusion, but that's the conclusion that was drawn by defense counsel, that Mildred, you have been coached by Yoko. That's in the court's record. We wait to see what the judge will say about that. She confirmed that she was detained and later granted bail before becoming a prosecution witness. Okay, so that's Mildred Donkor. I think that is that all. Yeah. Okay, so do you have some more? Okay, so then there's also currently ongoing, that's just ended. In fact, it was happening today when, as you must have read online, on CTFM Online, Doomsaw affected the court. So in the middle of Attachment's cross-examination, that ended. Now, the guy there now, who is there, Cromwell, Mr. Cromwell is the investigator. And Mr. Cromwell has been saying certain things that I see that the same side people have been publishing, hoping that it helps their case in the court of public opinion. Now, Mr. Cromwell has been saying that the salary of Kwabena Edith Boahen, 5,000 cedis a month in 2018, 9,000 cedis a month in 2019 or something like that, cannot possibly buy the properties, some properties. But here is a real question that Edith Boahen's lawyers are asking. The Attorney General and the prosecution have failed to bring the said properties to the court to demonstrate that the properties that they heard of by gossip, that the properties are truly Edith Boahen's properties. Because Advantage Solution, which is Edith Boahen's wife, is into property business. What they do is that they secure land and then they auction the land for people to build on the land. Sometimes they can build for you. You know that arrangement is all over. Sometimes they can build for you. Sometimes you build and they supervise. Most of the estate gated communities are like that. And this is the business that Advantage Solutions, which is led by Kwabena Edith Boahen's wife as chief executive since 2008, have been doing. And so those houses that Advantage Solutions have claim over, 90% of it is not for them, it's for other people. They are a platform that is just putting people's homes there. So they have some homes, but they don't have the 35 that you go and see in the community. 90% of the 35 is not for them, it's for other people. So when they saw that and they saw advantage solutions, then they put it together that it must be Kwabena Eduboahen's property. It is this matter that Cromwell has come to the court, and Atta was cross-examining him, and he's saying that the salaries of Eduboahen doesn't match the acquisition of those properties. But those properties are not Eduboahen's acquisitions, and there's no evidence to that. So, you see, viewers, that's the thing with court and criminal prosecution. This Metro TV building here, we are in North Region, Accra, very nice building. When we were constructing this building, I was coming here every day. So if somebody was sitting there and says that, this thing is for Paul Adumoche, every day he comes there. Can't you see that when he comes, then the people who are working, they call him boss, boss. When he's about to come, they say, boss, a bow. Then they are in a hurry, they are doing the mortar and they are putting the iron rods because boss is coming. If you look at that, then you go and say in court that the Metro TV building is for me, you will be laughed at and laughed upon, because whether a building is for somebody or not is a legal question, and it's a question of documents, and it's verifiable. There's only one basis on which you can say a property belongs to an individual, is that it's registered in his name. That is all. Nothing more, nothing less. The fact that I came here every day when they were building it, the fact that I was coming here, sleeping here, the fact that my brother is the engineer who did it, the fact that it was my sister who was the painter, all of those facts are inconsequential to the document that determines who is the owner of the property. So that's what has happened. Gossip has gone around that, hey, Kwabena Eduboahen and his wife, they have money. Hey, this property here, all the houses are for them. I'll show you something. Every Saturday morning, Kwabena comes here, I'll show you. Then Saturday, say, Charlie, have you seen him? Have you seen that? That's Kwabena Eduboahen, the guy at the Signals Bureau. You see that he's inspecting the house. The house is for him. So, Oral, which Dom Levo said is garbage, sits down and somebody goes to Oral, raises his hand, he's Kofi Mensah Edionum. Yes, what do you have? Kwabena Eduboahen is a thief. There are some houses, I can go and show you the houses. Then they follow him, chuku, chuku, chuku. They go to the place, they look at the thing, then they bring it in press conference. A whole lawyer, PhD, Dr. Dominic Ayini, a whole brutal lawyer, Stanford University. Oh, boy, what is going on? Stanford University. This gossip, you come and stand and do press conference and say that it's for Dominic Ayini. Now you are in court. And Cromwell has started by saying Eduboahen's salary doesn't match. We are waiting for them to bring the evidence that those properties belong to the said Kwabena Eduboahen. They should bring it. And then they don't even start with in building your case to the court. You start with the properties first before you come to his salary. They have begun with the salaries. What is going on? Stanford. Oh my goodness. You know, when we were young, we all wanted to go to Stanford because J.H. Mensah was trained at Stanford. Those of you who are much younger, you don't know J.H. Mensah. J.H. Mensah was trained at Stanford, and he talks about Stanford quite a bit. I used to live near him in Tessinungwa Estate. I'll go to his house every morning. And J.H. was always talking about Stanford. So Stanford went into our heads. So when I got to the Faculty of Law and Dominic Ayini was teaching, and I heard that he went to Stanford, I will go to his office and go and have a conversation with him about his green Volvo and all of that. He had a nice green Volvo that, I like nice cars. I'll be talking to him about his car. It's Stanford. When he became Attorney General, I sat on this program and said that I think this is the best decision John Mahama has made. I didn't know. Viewers, forgive me. I didn't know. So when the press conference started, I said, was there something going? So I called other people who know him that, Dominic, why? But this is where we are. This is what is happening in the Eduboahen case. So at this stage, and that is why I started with the definition of the criminal standard. At this stage, even at this stage, without fear of contradiction, somebody can say that the Attorney General has already failed the threshold of beyond reasonable doubt. He's long failed it. In this trial, he has long failed it. Because when things that you are saying are being contradicted by your own witnesses, wherein lies your case? But let's see what happens. You see, I got a call from somebody abroad. He says he wants to interview me about my book, and he's a PhD student. And he asked me a poignant question. He said I should give him the 2 reasons why Ghana's democracy. You can take the story out, Michael. He said, I should give him 2 reasons why Ghana's democracy has succeeded. And the 2 reasons I gave him why Ghana's democracy of the Fourth Republic has succeeded, he said 2. One is the behavior of the courts, especially the Superior Court of Judicature, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. The decisions they've handed down since January 1993 is a major reason why this republic is still where we are. And we have to be grateful to the judiciary. That's why I don't joke with judges. You know, the other day when they were teasing Justice Bafoboni that he went to work, I didn't want to be part of it. Because Justice Bafoboni is Chief Justice, you see. So the judges, they've done very well for this republic. So I heard it on Newsfile, and I was happy that Ansansari was able to say the things he said, that it was really wrong for Justice Bafoboni to do that. But the judges, the Superior Court of Judicature, have been a major backbone to this Fourth Republic. That is one reason I gave him. The second reason I gave him is the magnanimity of our election losers. How our election losers have responded since 1992 to their defeat in the election. And 1992 was bizarre because Professor Dubois and the group were so angry that they boycotted Parliament. All this is out, Michael. They boycotted Parliament, you see. But then look at 1996, and we have shown documentaries of it. John Ajekum Kufuor, on the inauguration of the President Rawlings, even though many MP people felt the election had been rigged again, he went to congratulate Rawlings on the stage, live at the Independence Square. It was the magnanimity of John Ajekum Kufuor in those circumstances that helped this thing to succeed. And then you remember 2000, the famous Mipasumje, Professor Mills, when he was being urged to challenge the 2000 results and fight, he said, no, I'm Mipasumje. It is even rumored that in 2004, again, when Professor Mills lost, J.J. Rawlings went to him and said, Charlie, they are cheating you, wake up. And he said, oh, Mipasumje. And gradually, the Asumje Hine became, and then it catapulted him into victory in 2008. Remember 2008, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 25,000 separating them. The NPP people in the hinterland were willing to come down to Accra and kill everybody for the power. Akufo-Addo said, it's okay, let it go. He went to the Independence Square in the inauguration. He congratulated Professor Mills. So, and then you come on and on and on to 2016, and then to Mahama Bawumia's very, very gracious consideration on that morning, for which some people even blamed him that he spoke too early. But Mahama Bawumia looked at the figures and said, well, why not? Ghana is more important. So he came out and he came together with his wife outside their home and said, we lost the election. Congratulations, John Mahama. And everything ended. Some people use that to steal parliamentary seats, which we will take back from them. But it's okay. They stole it very nicely. It's fine. But the important thing is that Dr. Bawumia kept this country together on that very fateful Sunday morning. So, 2 things that have helped our democracy is the court.
Abuzia, we need to answer my call, so our political highway. So, Addo, Hanan, and I see I buy answer to me as soon as any asam keto akra. But I must say, some Japan kokoti sa and some way at mine. Now, Opeko and Sambia, Koso, our political highway. So, Aburia gossip, and I yabanya sa update no, Eddie, Amam, Yabamase.